Man, what are y'all doing here? Okay, well, shit. Since you're here, we might as well jump right in. I'm gonna be giving away a ton of free sauce all 2026 because that's what people deserve. This is going to be a full, in-depth guide on how to start high-ticket sales completely for free with literally $0 to your name. I know a lot of people say for free and then they have you buy all these subscriptions. No, literally for free. Gonna be specifically updated for 2026 because the game is constantly changing, it's constantly evolving, and things are constantly switching, moving around, and updating. The first thing you obviously want to know is what is high ticket sales. I'll explain. Let's just break it down. High ticket, what does that really mean? There's low ticket and there's high ticket. Low ticket is anywhere from $1 to $999. High ticket is anywhere from $1,000 and up. Alright, so high ticket basically just essentially means big numbers. And then sales, I'm sure everyone knows what sales is. Life insurance sales, car sales. This is way different from those, but it's the same kind of concept. High ticket sales is completely remote. You have time freedom, you work when you want to, you have location freedom. Basically, the nice part about high ticket sales that's different about most sales, I don't like to say that word because it's really not. The nice part about high ticket sales is it's completely remote, meaning I take all my calls from my house just by using my laptop. You don't need fancy equipment. You might be wondering, oh, I don't have a laptop, I don't have this, I don't have that. You can also start with just a phone. I'm going to go over the 3 different ways to do high ticket sales that I personally got into at a young age that took me from literally a broke college student with $0 to my name to making 6 figures, 7 figures a year at 18 years old and 19 years old. Last year I made over 6 figures in complete profit, not revenue, from doing this exact business model. First thing you want to jump into is kind of how you start, right? But I'll get into that in a second. If you don't know what you're doing and you're not closing any deals, you're not gonna make any money, right? So it's important to know how to actually sell before you just jump right in. But a nice part as well about it is if you're good at sales, you're gonna make a ton of money. There's B2B and there's B2C, right? B2B is business to business. So you're selling to another business. B2C is business to customer. So you're selling to a customer. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's tons of people on the internet selling mentorships, right? They're everywhere. They're literally everywhere, running paid ads, organic, they're all over the timeline, right? And these creators are making sometimes up to 400, 500,000 in one day. They obviously don't have time to take all of these sales calls, all of these business calls to get these people onboarded and into their program and obviously collect payment on this call. So what are they gonna do? Hire someone who does high ticket sales, like me, a closer or a setter, to basically respond to their DMs, book them in calls, and actually close these deals for these business owners. Well, how much of that money am I really going to take? So let's use an example, $5,000. If you're closing deals for $5,000 as a closer on 10% commission, because closers typically get anywhere from 10 to 30% commission, right? If you're closing deals on 10% commission, you are going to take home $500 just from this deal alone. Now let's say you are on 20% commission. You're gonna be making $1,000 per deal. Keep in mind, these calls are 30 minutes long, 45 minutes max. Now imagine your calendar's booked and you got call. Let's say you have 10 calls a day and you're on 20% commission, 5K ticket, and you're closing 7 out of 10 of these calls. You're gonna make $7,000 in one day. Now, the reason you should be getting into this in 2026 specifically is for these 3 reasons. The first main reason is that the offer has completely exploded. This industry is going insane right now. Info offers have become one of the biggest things in business history, especially online business. Info courses and mentorships are literally through the roof right now. I even see coaching programs on Looksmaxing, believe it or not. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I've seen a coaching offer on how to heat food up in the microwave. Obviously you don't want to sell an offer like that. You want to find an offer that's actually going to sell, that provides real value. And these ticket prices are getting higher, right? It's very scalable and you can make a lot of money quick if you know what you're doing. The third reason I would say you need to get into this, into 2026 specifically, is because the skills transfer, right? Learning the skill of sales transfers to anything, whether you want to do real estate in the future, whether you want to run your own offer, whether you want to run your own agency, right? You're gonna need to know how to close these deals, whether you wanna growth operate and start managing offers. Being able to close deals and sell your service, sell your program, these are amazing skills that I think everyone should learn because they transfer over to multiple different business models. I'm gonna kind of cover right the main forms of high ticket sales that you should start. Now, when I first started, I started with setting, but there's appointment setting, there's phone setting, and there's closing. So let me break them all down in order. Let's start off with appointment setting, or DM setting, which is what I like to call it. How DM setting works is you are basically going to be logged in to the creator's Instagram, TikTok, whatever socials they're using. You're gonna be logged into their account and you're gonna be responding to DMs for them. So I don't know if you guys have seen this. Pretty sure most of you have. But let's say the offer is a day trading offer, for example. DM me meme coins to learn. DM me trade to learn, right? Whatever it is, people are gonna be in the offer owner's DMs constantly saying, trading, 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 trading. Your job as a DM setter is to literally just go and respond to all of these DMs, financially qualify them, and book them in a call. Your job as a DM setter is simply to just make sure they're a serious lead, right? Actually make sure they qualify for the program. Obviously, if they're like 13 years old, you know, they're not gonna be able to buy a $5,000, $10,000 program, right? And so that's why you ask these questions in the DM so you don't waste time hopping on calls with people who don't even have money. I'm gonna break it down as well on a Google Doc. So let's jump right into that. I'm gonna kind of show you the kinds of questions you should be asking as a DM setter and as a phone setter. These are going to be the kinds of questions you should be asking when you are DM setting and phone setting. Basically, they're going to obviously text you with the keyword. Like I said, let's say it's a day trading offer, right? They're going to be like trade, right? To learn. So they text trade. You're going to be like, okay, what's up, man? How you doing? The first question I typically ask is like, what makes you want to learn? But a good way to kind of speed that process up and not ask one question per text. You don't want to waste time and not get straight to the point. So basically, you can ask multiple questions within the same text. That way, you're speeding up the process of setting them and you're saving yourself more time and more money because you can get to other prospects quicker. Like I said, keep it casual. You don't need to be, hello, sir, right? You sound like an AI, right? You want to be normal. So what's up, man? Just before we jump in, can you give me like some quick background information on yourself? Like, how old are you? What's your name? What do you do for work? Right? Things like that. Then you obviously want to find a reason. Why are they even contacting you in the first place? Do they want help? Are they just looking to chat? Because you need to find the intention before you book them on a call. Otherwise, they might book on the call thinking they're there to just chat or ask questions or, And so you're basically going to ask them, okay, like, how much are you making a month right now? How much do you want to be making a month with trading, right? XYZ business model obviously stands for whatever offer you're working on. And for this one, for this example, will be trading, right? Day trading. So what makes you want to kind of get into trading, right? Okay. How long have you been doing it for? Right. So these are all good questions, kind of just getting a background report on the person and seeing where they're at. Right. And obviously I have that down there as seriousness. You could honestly put serious above qualify or below it. It really doesn't matter too much, but I kind of rearrange it. I don't keep like the same set, I guess, like script. I don't use a script, so I wouldn't call it that, but like the same outline. But like after you obviously find a reason and find, a want, which kind of tells you how serious they are as well, you're going to qualify them, right? What are you doing for work? I obviously put it up there as well, occupation. So if you already asked it, obviously don't ask again. But when you're qualifying, you want to ask this question. This is the most important question you could ask is, how much capital do you have saved up, right? This defers whether you're going to be able to book them or not, right? Because if they have $1 saved, guess what? You can't make any money, right? They can't even start the program, right? The programs are like $5,000, $10,000. But if they have, let's say, 50K saved, 60K saved, now you're like, okay, awesome. How long have you been kind of like looking into trading, right? You're going to get into serious now. Like, how long have you been wanting to do this, right? If they haven't started, how long have you been doing this? If they've started, okay, you've been doing it for 2 years. How's it been going? Okay, why are you not exactly where you want to be? So you're kind of just asking them simple questions to kind of build a background report and kind of see what their problem is, right? You obviously want to make sure you can help them. You don't want to just book people just to book them, right? And obviously if they have 50K, 60K saved, you can book them up because they're able to afford a program. Even if they have, let's say the program's 10K and they have 5K saved, you can still book them in because they could do essentially called a payment plan, like 5K down now, 5K down later, 2.5K in 4 increments, whatever the offer owner accepts or allows, you can do that, right? And obviously get paid a commission for that payment plan. When you book them in, there's many different ways to do it. Some people do a Calendly link. Obviously, you'll address it with the offer owner before you just start setting. But the top questions you need to ask when DM setting, when dialing is obviously what makes you want to learn, right? Why are you reaching out in the first place? What makes you want to start? What makes you want to learn? Whatever it is, right? Okay, how old are you? What's your name, right? This question, obviously, the I want to start is a great question because it gives you the reason why, right? And if they're just like money, don't just let them sit at that one word answer, right? Because that just shows they're not serious. What does money do for you? Why do you want to make money? Well, I just want to make more. They're not as serious. First, I want to help my mom. She has hospital bills that we need to pay and we're in debt, right? Now you have a real reason built out and you can tell how serious the lead is and how more likely they are to pay just by diving deeper into their issues, into their whys, right? So you're finding a why. And then you're going to ask, how old are you and what's your name? What's your name is good because you're connecting with them at a personal level. And how old are you is important because if it's a $10,000 program, I'm assuming anyone from the age from 5 to 15 years old, 16 years old, even 17 is not going to be able to pay for that program. Not that you shouldn't book those people in. 17, 16, I would say 16 is kind of where the area gets gray. 17-year-old, they might be able to, but sometimes people don't have their own bank account until they're literally 18 years old. So these leads aren't the best. You do not want to book in children, minors, whatever it is. That's not ideal, but obviously you can still book them in if they have enough saved. Then you obviously want to find their goals, right? This is kind of diving back into that why. Okay, what's your goals with this, right? Do you want to just pay off those hospital bills or do you want to start making 5 to 10K a month every single month and pursue this full time? Is this an on the side thing or do you want to actually go all in, right? And so it also just gives you a sense of how warm the lead is, as well as what do you currently do to make money, right? So again, I'm just kind of repeating these questions up here, but you're just asking what they currently do to make money for income, right? This is important to see. Let's say they have 2.5K, the program's 10K, 5K, whatever it is. They don't have enough for it. You want to make sure they have money coming in so that way they possibly would be able to pay off the rest, right? Let's say they don't have a job, but they have enough saved up. That's also fine. The job question isn't important. That just gives you kind of a sense of what they're currently doing to make money. Let's say they're like, oh, I'm day trading, right? You don't want to just go on and move on to the next question. You want to ask them, how's it going, right? You don't want to just go question, right? Basically, you want to understand their situation. You want to connect with them. You want to talk to them. Don't treat it like you can only ask these 5 questions. This is simply an outline of the questions you must ask. These are not all the questions you should be asking. You should be asking more than this, if not double the questions, right? As well as you also do want to keep it short. You don't want to ask them 30, 40, 50 questions because that's the closer's job, right? And so you do want to keep it simple, but you also want to ask these important questions, right? And then the last question I like to ask is, how much capital do you have saved up? And I'm actually going to add one after that because if they are qualified, you want to ask them, would you be open to hopping on a call to see how I could help? Something simple, right? And then when they do, you book them in, you get their number, whatever it is, whatever the system is for how you book them in, that's what you do, right? And these are the top 6 questions that you 100% need to ask when qualifying someone in the DMs. Now that I explained DM setting, let's jump into what phone setting is. Phone setting is the same exact process, except you're going to be calling them and ringing them and actually talking to them over the phone, right? So you might think it's very, very similar, but there are a few aspects that come into this that you need to know how to do. This is where tone comes into play. This is where your energy comes into play. This is where your speaking comes into play. Phone setting, it's a little bit more complicated, but it is also very easy to do, right? And I don't want to sugarcoat this business model. I don't want to make you guys think it's I'm going to get rich in 30 days. No, you're not, right? Especially if you don't do any work. If you're not someone who likes to work hard, click off. Basically, phone setting, the main important parts is tone, energy, your speaking, and kind of how you're talking to these people. Essentially, you're asking the same questions as you would be asking for a DM setter, and you're just doing it over the phone. So a good example of when you would be, dialing and actually phone setting instead of DM setting is for YouTube leads, for example. So when people post videos on YouTube and leads are coming in through a type form, which is basically just an application form, filling it out, basically getting some background information on the prospect, right? The lead, the person you're selling to. And after they fill out this type form, you're gonna call them, double check that information, talk to them, see how they're doing, and then you're going to book them in for a longer call, a 45-minute call with the closer. And if the closer closes the deal, you get paid, right? It's all commission. You're not getting paid for how many people you book in, you're getting paid for how many people you book in who close. And you might be asking, well, how much am I taking home there? Glad you asked. You're gonna be taking home anywhere from 3% to 5% on average. Commission varies from every offer. I've worked on offers for 10% commission as a closer. I've worked on offers on 25% commission as a closer. So it really does vary offer to offer, which is why you always want to arrange your commission before you start working on these offers. Now you might be wondering, well, Didi, why is the closer getting more commission than the setter if they're both doing work? That's a very good question that you didn't ask, but I asked it for you. The reason that they are getting less commission is because these closers are hopping on calls for 30 minutes, 45 minutes just to close one deal, while a DM setter, a phone setter, is only interacting with these people for a few minutes before they book them in. Meaning you can make up to $250 within a 2-minute, 5-minute conversation and book in around 10 to 20 people in 30 minutes to an hour. Meaning, you guys know I'm bad at math, but let's pull up the calculator. If you're booking in 20 people a day on 5% commission for a $5,000 ticket, and 15 of those people close, you're gonna be making $3.7 thousand in one day. You are simply just a middleman in the background of the scenes, right? And so the nice part about this is you can literally have no social media presence, you can be completely a mystery and make a lot of money online just by doing these back-end work for these creators. You might be wondering what makes a good setter versus a bad setter. A bad setter is someone who responds within a few hours, someone who doesn't financially qualify them, someone who lets them ask a million questions before they even hop on a call, and someone who just isn't really serious about making money. What makes a good sales rep and someone who's good at sales and good at what they do is someone who's authentic, someone who's good at speaking, someone who's responsive quick, someone who actually works well with a team, right? Because obviously you're not going to be working alone, you're going to be working with a team. And if you don't know how to communicate with your team, if you don't know how to actually connect and flow with your team, if you do one thing wrong, they have a chance of kicking you off. There's no chemistry, there's no connection. Why would they keep you on? You're just a pawn, essentially. If you communicate with them, they'll communicate with you, which is the best part. Now is where closing comes into play. Now, this is where I personally fell in love with the game of sales and fell in love with actually closing high ticket deals. Closing is where you're hopping on the call and actually closing the deal face to face with the prospect on, a Google Meet or a Zoom. Basically, just hopping on a video chat call with the lead and actually closing this high ticket deal. Now, the nice part about closing is it kind of allows you to touch those 40 to 50K months and make an insane amount of money in the space. Also, closing is where body language, background, the way you present yourself and perceive yourself, also how you talk comes into play. Not only can they hear you, but they can also see you. Now, I structure my closing calls in a very specific way. I do not use a script. I just have bullet points for how I structure my call, and I'm going to walk you through how to do that. Now, the first bullet point, I'll call it, to structure my call is the introduction, right? This is basically just introducing yourself, maybe asking a question about where they're from, kind of how the weather is, not super important, very brief and simple. The second point is where they are currently at and what they are currently doing. This comes into play of what they're doing for work, if they're in school, if they've already tried the business model, if it worked, didn't work, if they're struggling, what exactly are they struggling with, why it didn't work for them, right? Let's say they think, oh, I didn't try because it's a scam. Why do they think it's a scam? Why do they think it's not legit? The third thing is their goals and what they're actually trying to get out of joining this program and receiving this high ticket service. You're going to be covering why they're not already at their goals, kind of what they want to achieve with this program and business model specifically, their life goals, number goals. And what I mean by life goals is what do they want to do with their life? Number goals is essentially just how much do they want to be making a month. Now the fourth thing is basically right before the pitch, and it's going to be going over the high ticket service and what they are actually going to be receiving from your help. Now there's many ways to do this. A lot of the times I like to physically show people so they can visually see what they're actually getting, or I like to describe in detail and in depth what they're actually getting. You don't want to just say you're getting one-on-one calls. Instead, you want to say you're getting one-on-one personalized strategized calls that are going to actually help you grow your business and have specific resources in those calls to genuinely help you. The fifth thing is literally just the pitch. So this is going to be pitching the price and telling them how much it's actually going to cost and collecting payment on call. Now, this is where a few other things come into play, as in tonality and handling objections, but essentially you want to pre-handle these objections so when you actually do pitch the price, it's very smooth, it's very easy, and the people are already ready to buy. That is kind of a summary of how to close. If you do have questions, make sure to reach out to me. Send me a DM on TikTok or Instagram. I respond to all my DMs, and if you have a question, do not be scared to ask and reach out. Now, I will also link my socials down in the description. If you guys do want to send me a message, you can feel free to do that. Don't be scared to send me a DM and ask for extra help. If you do actually want to hop on a call to learn a little bit more about this, there's a link in my bio to do that if you want to hop on a call with me and learn a little bit more about high ticket sales. Now, you're probably still wondering, well, how do I start? I'm glad you asked. I'm going to show you kind of how to start and walk you through the process of the 5 main ways that I personally land offers. So, we're going to be going over how to land a high ticket sales offer or role in 2026, right? These personally are the 5 methods that I use to land an offer in 2026. And, these methods also worked in 2025, but I know that these methods are proven to work because not only do I use them, but my students use them and they work. I promise they work. So basically the first method that I love, right? And this is something you can do for free, right? So you have the ability to do this for free on your own. You don't have to pay to do this, is outreaching to influencers and creators. And what that looks like is just DMing these creators. And obviously there's strategy to DMing, right? But DMing these creators and actually outreaching to them, right? Say, hey, I do high ticket sales. I have blah, 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 blah experience, and I'm ready to work and take on a new offer. Let me know if you would want to hop on a call and see why I'm a good fit, blah, 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 right? And obviously you want to attach a Loom video. You want to stand out. I'm not going to drop too much sauce because I've already dropped a lot, but stand out. Don't be like everyone else. Don't just say yo, right? And obviously, you want to make a Loom video, which is just a brief introduction video, kind of explaining your background, your experience, and how you can help them scale, right? And why you're different from everyone else. So the second method, which is also completely free, is posting content, right? The other 3 aren't necessarily free. At least the last 2 aren't free to have unless you have connections in the space, which obviously connections comes next. But posting content, right? So this is completely free. I think everyone should abuse this opportunity. Think about in the 1900s, the 1800s. They didn't have this opportunity of social media. Even early 2000s, like social media isn't what it is today, right? There wasn't even such thing as online business, right? We are in a generation with so much opportunity and resources that you should be posting content around what you do, documenting your journey. I seen someone, because obviously I manage sales offers. I'm recruiting people constantly. I seen this guy posting content, documenting his sales journey on my timeline, and I personally hit him up and hired him just because I liked his energy. He posted content, he posted authoritative things, and I knew that he knew what he was doing, right? So he landed multiple offers, not only mine that I hired him for, but he landed multiple offers just by posting content, which is free to do, right? Now, the third way to land an offer is connections. Connections comes over time from working with multiple offers, so that's kind of hard to do on your own unless you have someone that you're connected to that that has an offer or has an agency or has these things going on to where you can work with them, right? Which is possible for you to have, but typically in my experience, I didn't have connections when I first started because I was literally doing it alone. And so I literally just had to rely on outreaching and posting content, which both worked for me and both landed me offers that made me my first $20,000 online in 1 month. But connections, that came over time for me. If you have connections, great, but that's another great way to land an offer, right? So connections is a very good way, but again, it can come over time. Or you can pay to be in a program, community, group to where you have these connections and you have these, opportunities to land these offers. All right. And the fourth thing is opportunities. So opportunities, obviously that's job postings posted by a sales manager / offer owner. And essentially these opportunities are listed, right? I would show you guys, but I can't leak the link. But basically how they're listed is it's at the top. It's like a day trading offer, right? Doing $500,000 a month in revenue. The OTE, which stands for on target earnings, is 20 to 30K a month. Meaning if you were working on that offer and you landed that offer, you'd be making 20 to 30K a month just from that one offer alone, right? And opportunities is never free, right? This is not something you can just get for free. This is something that you can find within my paid program, or you can find it from other people's paid programs or other people's paid groups, right? But these offers and these opportunities aren't free. These job postings are typically only in programs, mentorships, whatever you want to call it. They're usually just in there, right? Now, the fifth way to land an offer, which is literally the easiest way, is offer placement, right? Getting personally placed by a sales manager, an offer owner, whatever it is. Essentially, that's not free either, but if you have connections in the space, then that can become free. So it really just depends on kind of who you know, all right? I mean, don't stress if you don't have these last three. I personally didn't have these last three when I first started, and it worked out fine for me. It might take slightly longer, right? It might be a little bit harder, but it's doable. And I'm a prime example of that because I literally started with no mentor, no guidance, no help from outreaching and posting content from literally just an iPhone. So anyone can do it. Anyone can start. The thing about offer placement, it's the guaranteed placement, right? So you're guaranteed to land an offer because you're getting personally placed. I personally place all my students on offers who actually, reach out, try. I see them putting in work. You're getting placed on an offer because one, I manage multiple offers. So I need reps constantly, right? I'm constantly working with different clients, new clients, and I need reps constantly to come in and obviously help the business grow. And so offer placement, again, you can find inside my paid program. It's obviously not free. But yeah, those are kind of like the 5 different ways that I go over, how to land an offer. So I hope you guys really did enjoy this video. If you stayed to the end, I appreciate it. Drop a like for me, drop a little subscribe, hit the noti bell if you're feeling generous. But I hope you guys did enjoy this. This was a full in-depth guide on how to actually start doing high ticket sales for free in 2026 completely on your own, because I think that everyone should be able to start on their own and make money online on their own without having to invest into anything. If you do actually want more in-depth help, direct offer placement, like I talked about, or those connections and those opportunities, then you can fill out the link in my YouTube bio and book a call with me if that is something that you actually do want to pursue doing. I'd be more than happy to kind of hop on a call, help you out, talk to you, kind of see if I could help, and yeah, just go from there. So I hope you guys really did enjoy. It's been a good one. This is my first video with an official camera, so I'm very, very excited for, I guess, what this is gonna bring. I don't know, I like talking to a camera. It makes me feel like a little movie star. So I guess we're gonna drop videos, super, super consistent videos. I'm gonna try and post at least 3-4 times a week on YouTube, and I'm gonna keep dropping free sauce, right? I'm giving it away for free, right? So if you are interested in, getting free information is always going to bring you power. So if that's something of interest to you, I would recommend, subscribing, following along for the journey, and I'll see you guys in the next one.